Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Kamsajeevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpadarubhyas Chakrapa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschyat Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate giram yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramanandamadavam Shri Chaitanya Ishvaram. So, a quick review of chapter 6. So, after telling Arjuna that whatever work you do, you offer it as a sacrifice to me, including the results in chapter 5. In chapter 6, Krishna presents Arjuna with an alternative. From work as worship to work with devotion, Krishna is now going to elaborate on another way to reach him. He's talked about this in shlokas 27 and 28 of chapter 5, where he talks about Dhyana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. So actually, in this regard, I want to come to Srimad Bhagavatam to emphasize to you why Dhyana Yoga is not a recommended path in Kali Yuga. So when you come to Srimad Bhagavatam, the very last canto, there is a chapter titled the Bhumi Gita. And this particular chapter talks about what all is going to happen in Kali Yuga. You can see the chapter is called the Age of Deterioration. So I'll come to a few shlokas until I arrive at the last shloka that explains how each yuga has a designated process for one to achieve self-realization. So in this particular chapter, Shukadev Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaj how polluted and corrupt the leaders will become in Kali Yuga. So you can see in one of the shlokas, first I will conquer my senses and mind, and then I will subdue my chief ministers and rid myself of the thorn pricks of my advisors, citizens, friends, and relatives, as well as keepers of my elephants. In this way, I will gradually conquer the entire earth, indicating that in Kali Yuga, people simply want to own as much as they want. If they could, they will take the entire nation and the entire planet itself. So Kali Yuga, one of the symptoms of Kali Yuga is unlimited greed, never-ending greed, never-ending desires. And then Shukadev Goswami is saying they'll not only try to conquer all the land, then they will try to conquer the ocean itself. And he says politicians will do nothing but exploit. Actually, this is the voice of the earth that's talking about the horrible conditions of Kali Yuga. So the Bhumi is saying, for the sake of conquering me, materialistic persons fight one another. Fathers oppose their sons and brothers fight one another because their hearts are bound to possessing political power. This is Mother Earth speaking. Political leaders challenge one another. All this land is mine. It's not yours, you fool. Thus they attack one another and die. So Mother Earth is lamenting the condition of the human beings who are there on this planet Earth during the yuga called Kali Yuga. And then after hearing all this, and then Parikshit Maharaj is going to hear some more about Kali Yuga, he asks Shukadev Goswami, well, if people are so sinful in Kali Yuga, what hope do they have? How can they get rid of their contaminations? And then he asks, tell me the difference between the different ages. What's the difference between Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga? And then Shukadev Goswami begins by saying, my dear king, in the beginning, during Satya Yuga, the age of truth, religion is present with all four of its legs intact. These are the four legs of Dharma, and is carefully maintained by the people of that age, which means in Satya Yuga, people cared about Dharma. These four legs of powerful religion are truthfulness, mercy, austerity, and charity. And then he gives the symptoms of the people in different ages. The people of Satya Yuga are, for the most part, self-satisfied, merciful, friendly, peaceful, sober, tolerant. They take pleasure from within. And then Shukadev Goswami explains how in subsequent yugas, every leg of dharma is reduced by a quarter. So in Treta Yuga, what begins? The four pillars of irreligion make their presence known. So if the four legs of dharma is truthfulness, mercy, austerity, and cleanliness, the four legs of adharma is lying, violence, dissatisfaction or greed, and quarrel. So in Treta Yuga, Shukadev Goswami is saying they are devoted to ritual performances and severe austerities. And it is in Treta Yuga, Shukadev Goswami is saying, society evolves into four separate classes, varnas. And then most of the people are actually brahmanas in Treta Yuga. But the varnas, the brahmanas, kshatriyas, vaishyas, and shudras, they make their presence felt in Treta Yuga. In Dwapar Yuga, now those four legs of dharma are reduced by 50%. So austerity, truth, mercy, and charity are reduced to 1/2. So dharma is only 50% present in Dwapar Yuga. In Dwapar Yuga, Shukadev Goswami is saying, what do? They study the Vedas. They have large families. They enjoy life with vigor. And in Dwapar Yuga, the predominant Varnas are Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. That means in the age of Kali, 75% of Dharma is gone. Everything is standing on a quarter leg. And then even that quarter is going to keep reducing. So irreligion will keep increasing and increasing and increasing in Kali Yuga. And finally, there will be destruction. So Shukadeva Goswami is saying, in the Kali age, people tend to be greedy, ill-behaved, and merciless. And they fight one another without good reason. Which there is no legitimate reason to fight, but people will be fighting about silly little things. Unfortunate and obsessed with material desires, the people of Kali Yuga are almost all Shudras. And barbarians. So Shukadeva Goswami is saying the challenge with Kali Yuga is people have become so degraded. So degraded. Their consciousness is so contaminated. And we are very fortunate that we've got an Acharya who's come from the spiritual world to clean the filth of our consciousness. So, so like this, Shukadeva Goswami is talking about Kali Yuga here again. He talks about other yugas also. When there is a predominance of cheating, lying, sloth, sleepiness, violence, depression, lamentation, bewilderment, fear, and poverty, that age is Kali, the mode of ignorance. So Kali Yuga, you will see a lot of cheating, a lot of lying, a lot of laziness, sleepiness. People will complain. People will get depressed about the smallest things. They live in fear. They will live in poverty. So Kali Yuga is the mode of ignorance, Tamogun. Because of the bad qualities of the age of Kali, human beings will become short-sighted, unfortunate, gluttonous, lustful, and poverty-stricken. The women, becoming unchaste, will freely wander from one man to the next. Cities will be dominated by thieves. The Vedas will be contaminated by speculative interpretations of atheists. Political leaders will virtually consume the citizens. And the so-called priests and intellectuals will be devotees of their bellies and genitals. Which means there will be a lot of gurus who will interpret the Shastra and mislead the people as to the true meaning of the Vedic scriptures. And there will be many, many, many Brahmanas who call themselves Brahmanas, but they are only interested in accumulating wealth and satisfying their genitals. And then Shukadeva Goswami is saying, the brahmacharis will fail to execute their vows and become generally unclean. The householders will become beggars. The vanaprasthas will live in the villages. And sannyasis will become greedy for wealth. Women will become much smaller in size and they will eat too much, have more children than they can properly take care of, and lose all shyness. So Shukadeva Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaj, the quality of women is going to completely change. Why do women lose their shyness in Kali Yuga? Because we are busy working hard for a living. They will always speak harshly and will exhibit qualities of thievery, deceit, and unrestrained audacity. Businessmen will engage in petty commerce and earn their money by cheating. Servants will abandon a master who has lost his wealth, even if that master is a saintly person of exemplary character. Masters will abandon an incapacitated servant, even if that servant has been in the family for generations. Cows will be abandoned or killed when they stop giving milk. This we see happening in India and probably across the globe. If the cow is not giving milk, it is considered to be useless. So that's how we are treating our mothers. In Kali Yuga, men will be wretched and controlled by women. They will reject their fathers, brothers, other relatives and friends and will instead associate with the sisters and brothers of their wives. This also you can already see. It happens in most families. Husbands are closer to the wives' families and they've rejected their own families. Thus, their conception of friendship will be based exclusively on sexual ties. So like this, Shukadev Goswami is talking about how everything is just going to degrade. Everything is going to degrade in Kali Yuga. But then he gives one final point. In the last two shlokas of this 12th chapter, of the 3rd chapter of the 12th canto, Shukadev Goswami is saying, my dear king, although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, there is still one good quality about this age. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. So why is in ISKCON we've instituted the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra or the chanting of the holy names of the Lord? It is coming directly from the scriptures. That there is only one thing that is going to save us in Kali Yuga, and that is Harinam Sankirtan. And Shukadev Goswami concludes this particular chapter by telling Parikshit Maharaj, whatever result was obtained in Satya Yuga by meditating on Vishnu, in Treta Yuga by performing sacrifices, and in Dwapar Yuga by serving the Lord's lotus feet, can be obtained in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So Dhyana Yoga was performed in Satya Yuga because people in Satya Yuga had a very long life. They could live up to 100,000 years. So Dhyana Yoga as a means of self-realization is not meant to be practiced in Kali Yuga. In Treta Yuga, the proper process for self-realization or God realization is actually performing yajnas, sacrifices, a lot of austerities. You can think of Hiranyakashipu. Austerities and sacrifices. In Dwapar Yuga, it's mainly deity worship, Pada Sevanam. So in Dwapar Yuga, a lot of temples were constructed to worship the Lord. But in Kali Yuga, the means to achieve self-realization is chanting the holy names of the Lord. So Dhyana Yoga was actually practiced in a previous age. But anyway, Krishna is telling Arjuna, Dhyana Yoga is another way in which you can achieve self-realization. And in that context, Krishna talks about how your mind can either be your friend or your enemy. And as long as we regulate our practices in life, then the mind can be your friend. If you give your mind complete freedom to do whatever it wants, whenever it wants, then it is going to be your enemy forever. So, as I was mentioning yesterday, all of our problems or the way we respond to external situations originates in the mind. And it's the mind that agitates us constantly. It keeps us in a confused state, in a bewildered state. Krishna is saying one way to control the mind is through that dhyana yoga. But then you have to follow a lot of rules and regulations there. You have to find a holy place. You have to find a quiet place. You have to find a seat that is neither too high nor too low. You have to lay kusha grass on the ground, cover it with deer skin. On top of that, put a soft cloth. And then sit down straight. You have to have given up your family and all kinds of attachments because you are going into the forest with nothing. You are not packing your suitcase and going to the forest. You are going with nothing. And then Krishna begins to talk about the breathing techniques, the concentration. But everything begins with do's and don'ts. So we have to regulate our eating, sleeping, recreation habits, and work. 4 things we have to learn to regulate before we can even come to the asanas. So dhyana yoga is actually very difficult to do. And in the Niti Shastras, the mind is compared to a monkey. You know, a monkey never sits still. It just jumps from branch to branch to branch, from tree to tree. So if you want to calm this kind of monkey mind, one way to do it is through meditation. So actually the Niti Shastra says, imagine a monkey that is on alcohol. First of all, a monkey is not stable. And then you feed that monkey alcohol, what will be its condition? And then while it is under the influence of alcohol, if a scorpion bites it, what would be the condition of the mind? Hence, Lord Krishna says only people who can practice this is, first of all, they have to train their mind to be like a lamp in a windless place. The flame never flickers, it stays steady. So yam, niyam, then asana, pranayam, breathing techniques, pratyahara, to slowly withdraw your senses from the external world, dharana, which is concentration, dhyana, which is meditative absorption, until you reach samadhi. So the process of dhyana yoga includes two types of realization. Realization of Atman and then realization of Paramatma. And then Arjuna asks a question, what happens to those people who have been practicing any one of the yogas, specifically Jnana Yoga and Dhyana Yoga? What if they don't succeed in one life? What will happen? And in response to this question, Krishna gives an answer, which I did not cover yesterday. Krishna answers this in 2 different ways. Let us say those who practice Dhyana Yoga, or let's say even Karma Yoga or Dhyana Yoga for a very short period of time before they give up. Then Krishna says they will be born into the Brahmana family, or they will be born into aristocratic families, families that have a lot of wealth, so that they can continue with where they left off. But before that, they will get credits for their good deeds. They will go to the heavenly planets, enjoy themselves, but then they have to come back to the earthly planets to take birth again. So once you go to heaven, it's not a permanent position there. Once your credits are exhausted, you have to come back. So it's like that snake and ladder game. You toss the dice, you go up, you come down. You go up, you come down. You go up the ladder and then you come down through the mouth of the snake. That's the game of life, snakes and ladders. We are constantly throwing the dice, not sure what we're going to get. Risky proposition. But what about those who have practiced Jnana Yoga or Dhyana Yoga, or even Bhakti Yoga for a very long period of time, for many, many lifetimes? Still they are unsuccessful. Krishna says for such people, they are born into the family of devotees. Therefore, as soon as they are born, they are introduced to Krishna consciousness right away, because the family is Krishna conscious. Therefore, they are assured of continuing with what they started in a previous birth or in previous births. So you see the difference between practicing for a short period of time and practicing for many, many lifetimes or for a long period of time. The difference in the births. If you practice for a short period of time, Krishna is not giving you any guarantee. The only guarantee he gives you is, okay, you'll be born into a Brahmana family or you'll be born into a rich family. So that either you get trained in proper Brahmanical culture, or you have so much wealth that you don't have to worry about working hard for a living. You can focus on the spiritual path. Whereas if you've practiced for a very long time and you've still not succeeded, Krishna guarantees you a birth in a devotee family, so that the minute you are born, you pick up where you left off. And then Arjuna asks, okay, which is the best path? So those who are chasing material desires are on the lowest rung. Higher than them, Krishna says, is the Nishkama Karma Yogi. Higher than them is the Jnana Yogi. Higher than them is the Dhyana Yogi. Highest of all is the Bhakti Yogi, because Krishna says they actually have a deep, intimate relationship with me. And because they have this deep, intimate relationship with me, they come back to me very quickly. And Krishna says, that's my opinion. So the 6th chapter ends with Krishna saying, that's my opinion. He compares the yogas and tells us which is the best and why it is the best. So another way to understand these different yoga rungs on this ladder of yoga is that, I don't think I have given this analogy before, in these series anyway. So Prabhupada used to say, if you want to get to the top of a multi-story building, there are different ways you can get to the top. You can take the staircase, you can take the elevator, or you can climb up the building using a rope. A person practicing Bhakti Yoga is so intelligent, they'll say, why should I exert energy and effort? I can get to the top by just entering the lift, punching the button, and going to the top floor. That's a person practicing Bhakti Yoga. Krishna considers them to be intelligent, most intelligent. But then there are some people who want to test themselves. So they may climb the stairs. Or they may say, I will use the rope to get to the top of the building. Don't worry about me. These are your Jnana yogis and Dhyana yogis. They want to get to the top of the building the hardest way, the most difficult way, with no guarantee of success. So although you can get to the top of the building, even through that path, the chances of you getting to the top of the building, unless you have been really trained and you really exert yourself over many, many, many births, the number of people who get to the top of the building, let's say it's a 100-story building, using the staircase or the rope, is a very small percentage. So as Krishna is talking about this different yoga paths, he expects you to use your intelligence and choose the path that is easiest to get to him. That's the fastest way to get to him, which is to get into the elevator and punch the button to the top floor. That elevator symbolizes Krishna's mercy that allows you to rise up to the platform of transcendental love for the Lord, where Krishna himself is helping you, right? So this is Dhyana Yoga. So today's chapter, chapter 7, is titled Jnana Vijnana Yoga. What is Jnana? Jnana is knowledge. What is Vijnana? Vijnana is knowledge that you have applied and you have realized. It's practical to you. So, somebody can teach you how to make tea, but until you have really made the tea and tasted it, you really don't know. You can read all about it. You can watch as many YouTube videos you want on how to make tea, but it's theoretical. Until you try it out and taste it, you don't know what is this tea. So that's the difference between jnana and vijnana. Jnana is theoretical knowledge. Vijnana is realized knowledge, of which the most superior is obviously vijnana. Vijnana comes through experience, right? We learn a lot through our personal experiences, through the knocks of life, as they say. So before we begin, let's offer our humble obeisances to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So today's acronym is HEAD. Krishna will again begin this chapter by asking Arjuna to pay attention. He's going to talk a little bit more. Are you listening, Arjuna? I hope you've not gone to sleep during class. I hope you're paying attention. So Krishna will say, hear carefully. I'm about to say something very important. So this chapter is about the Lord pervading everything and everywhere. Krishna will also talk about there are going to be two categories of people: those who accept him as a Supreme Lord and those who do not accept him. And he's going to talk about these two different categories. And finally, demigod worship. Krishna is going to educate us about demigod worship. And he's going to tell you, don't do it. So we'll read those instructions as well. So as we said, the middle 6 chapters, which is chapters 7 to 12, are called Bhakti Yoga. It is the most delectable, delicious part sandwiched between the two harder slices of bread. Prabhupada actually uses the analogy of a hard book cover. If you have a hard book, the two sides of the book are quite hard, but the pages in between are delicate. They're protected. So on one side you have Karma Yoga, and the other side you have Jnana Yoga, and in between you have Bhakti Yoga being sandwiched. But Bhakti Yoga is the topmost. So why is it not at the end of the Bhagavad Gita? Why is it there at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita itself? Because Krishna can't wait to reveal what is the easiest thing for you to do, which is to practice Bhakti Yoga. So this middle section is all about Paramatma. It's about the Supreme Lord. It's about Lord Krishna. And to continue with the corporate analogy, this middle section is the actual job interview. So Krishna has offered you a job in chapter 3 saying, come work for me. Everything you do it for my satisfaction. And now Arjuna has to decide whether he is going to accept the job offer that Lord Krishna has made him in chapter 3. But before one accepts a job, one goes through certain criteria, decision-making process. Do we want to take this job or not? And some of the things that we consider is, what's the CTC going to be? What's going to be the benefits? What are the terms and conditions? What's going to be the insurance policy? What's going to be the retirement package? So essentially, Arjuna has to decide if Krishna's job offer is attractive enough for him to accept to work for Krishna. So this next 6 chapters is actually a job interview. But in this job interview, it is the candidate asking questions. It is Arjuna asking questions so that he can decide once and for all, should he accept the job that Krishna is offering? What is the job? Come work for me. And one of the elements of decision-making process as you accept a job is you want to know who you're going to be reporting to and what kind of personality this person has. Are they a micromanaging boss? Are they a boss that trusts you and gives you the freedom to explore? And what kind of boss is Krishna? So if we want to work for Krishna, why should we work for Krishna? Krishna will explain. He's going to describe himself and tell Arjuna, this is the kind of boss I am. So knowledge about the boss is actually chapter 7. So Krishna is going to establish himself as the supreme boss. He's the absolute boss. There's nobody else above him. So in this chapter 7, Krishna will establish himself. So how is Krishna the boss? When Krishna uses the word, I am the absolute boss, it includes Krishna and all his energies. And towards the end of the chapter, Krishna will explain why is he the boss. He will tell Arjuna, it's because I am the owner of everything. I'm Adi Bhuta. Everything belongs to me because it's my creation. Krishna will say, I am the controller of everything. I'm Adi Deva. I control all the Jivatmas and the Devatas. Then Krishna will say, I am the Adi Yajna. Whatever anybody does, I enjoy it. I am the enjoyer of everything. I am the controller of everything. I am the owner of everything. That's why I am the boss. So this is what Krishna is going to establish in this particular chapter. But even though this middle section is about the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Lord will continue to speak about his devotees throughout chapters 7 to 12. The important place of his devotees. So even though this middle section is about Paramatma, Paramatma means he's always surrounded by his devotees. Therefore, while talking about himself, he will also reference his devotees frequently and constantly. So, this chapter 7, let's see how it begins. So, it is titled Knowledge of the Absolute. So, Krishna will begin by saying, now hear, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga and full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So remember, the very last shloka of the previous chapter, Krishna has talked about how his devotees are the greatest. So he's picking up on that theme, and now he's going to talk about why his devotees are the greatest. Krishna will say, I'm going to tell you who I am. I'm going to tell you about the spiritual world. I'm going to tell you about the material world. The sum total of everything that exists is me. If you've understood the sum total, there's nothing else left for you to understand because you've understood the absolute complete, the complete whole. Krishna says, out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Krishna is saying, nobody knows me. Nobody knows me means those who have taken birth. He's not referencing the spiritual world. He's talking about the material world where the jivatmas are suffering. He's saying hardly anybody knows me. Then he talks about his energies: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 constitute my separated material energies. Remember, we talked about Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, and Tatastha Shakti in the Secrets of Gita Revealed. So that is actually coming from this chapter. Besides these, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mine, which is the Tatastha Shakti, which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. So there's Prakriti, there's Jivatma. Prakriti is the separated energy of the Lord. It is considered inferior. Jivatma is the superior energy of the Lord. The superior energy is utilizing Prakriti. All created beings have their source in these 2 natures. So either we are part of Prakriti or we are part of Jivatmas. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution. So the Lord is saying, I create, I destroy, I maintain. Then Krishna says, O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. So you see, Krishna is describing himself now. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So Krishna is referencing to himself as the thread on which the pearls are strung. You can only see the pearls, you can't see the thread. You can see the Lord's creation, but you can't see the Lord unless you develop the eyes to see the Lord. So Krishna is saying he is holding everything together. And now he is going to use various ways in which Arjuna can remember him. O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. So when you taste water, Krishna is saying, think of me, because that when you're really thirsty, all you want is water. Nothing else can quench your thirst like water. Krishna is saying, think of me. Why? Because the taste of that water is my energy. The smell of the earth when it rains, when water hits the soil. Krishna says that fragrance is me. I am the heat and fire. I am the life of all that lives. If Paramatma is not within you, you cannot be alive. All this time we thought, oh, only Atman means you have consciousness. Yes, but Atman cannot exist without Paramatma. You see how sweet the Lord is. He accompanies you everywhere. He is within you. The only question is, are we tapping into Paramatma? Or have we forgotten him? I am the penance of all ascetics. O son of Pritha, know that I am the original seed of all existences. When the Lord says, I am the original seed of all existences, meaning he is the Father. Everything originates from him. If somebody considers themselves intelligent, Krishna says, I have given you that intelligence because that intelligence comes from me. If somebody considers themselves to be very powerful, Krishna is saying that power I have given you. Whatever abilities a man has, Krishna is saying that ability is coming from me. It's my gift to you. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles. Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. So Prakriti creates Rajagun, Tamogun, and Sattvagun. Krishna says, I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature. So Krishna is repeating what he said earlier, that he doesn't come under the influence of the gunas. For they, on the contrary, are within me. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. Again, Krishna is repeating what he has said earlier. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So Krishna is giving an instruction of how you can transcend the three gunas and enter the spiritual world. What is the trick? Surrender. Surrender to whom? Not to the devatas. Surrender to Krishna. And now Krishna will talk about the two types of individuals, those who accept him, those who reject him. So Krishna has begun this entire chapter 7 by saying, here, listen carefully. It is said, when the fetus develops within the womb, the first sensory organ to develop is hearing. At the time of death, the last sense that operates when the soul leaves the body is hearing. So hearing is so important. One of the instructions that we receive from our elders is that if you know that somebody is leaving their body, you chant the holy names of the Lord for a simple reason, because they can hear, and hearing can influence your consciousness. Therefore, at the time of death, even though the person is experiencing excruciating pain, the Shastras say that pain at the time of death is like 60,000 or something scorpions biting you. I mean, one scorpion biting is a problem. Can you imagine the pain of 60,000 scorpions biting you? So death is very painful. So at the time of death, if we chant the holy names of the Lord, that person's consciousness can be distracted from thinking about their family to thinking about the Lord. And in chapter 8, tomorrow, we'll discover how Lord Krishna says, you only have to think of me at the time of death. You don't have to take birth again. But it's not easy to think about the Lord at the time of death if we're not practicing it throughout our life. So unless we practice thinking about the Lord every day, it's not possible to think about the Lord at the time of death. So hearing and chanting, as we discovered yesterday, are two important rungs of bhakti. So here in the first shloka, Maya Saktah Manah Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashrayah Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yata Gnasyati Takshrunu. Shrunu means here. So what is Krishna saying? How can you be in full consciousness of him? You should always be thinking about him. Your mind should be attached to Krishna and nothing else. When your mind is attached to Krishna and nothing else, Krishna says all your doubts will be removed. And when your doubts are removed, you will understand who I am. Who's the Supreme Lord? But again, Krishna is repeating the word practice. You have to practice. Without practice, we cannot do anything. We cannot achieve anything without practice. In yesterday's chapter, when Arjuna says, you ask me to control the mind, that's very difficult. Krishna says it's difficult, but it's possible. Through abhyasena and vairagena. Practice leads to detachment. We've covered this in the Secrets of the Gita Reveal program. There are 3 ways in which we acquire knowledge. Pratyaksha praman, through direct perception, through what you see, through what you hear, through what you smell. Then another way in which we acquire knowledge is through hypothesis and logic, by testing out things, by experimentation. And the third way in which we learn is called Shabda Praman. Just by hearing, we understand what is the truth. And of these 3 processes, as per Vedic culture, the most superior way of learning is through hearing, Shabda Praman. You may think that sounds crazy. With no proof, I have to accept what somebody has said without challenging, without thinking for myself. How is it that Shabda Praman is the best way of learning? Well, let's just think, when you were a child, your mother taught you so many things. She said, that's the moon, this is the sun, this is the sky, this is a tree, this is water. You didn't experiment. Whatever your parents told you as you were growing up, you accepted it as the truth. So if your mother said, this is your father, you accepted this as your father. You didn't say, no, let me do a DNA test. Let me find out for myself if you're speaking the truth. So we learn a lot of things by hearing. Because when we are very young, although we perceive things, we don't have the understanding. And definitely, we don't have the ability to experiment. Some amount of experimentation is happening through the five senses for a young child. But for the most part, the child is learning simply by hearing. You learn languages by hearing. So this is Shabda Praman. Our entire Vedic scriptures is divided into Shruti and Smriti. Shruti is knowledge that is revealed by the Lord directly. So by hearing this Shruti, which includes the Vedas, was revealed by the Lord. Smriti, on the other hand, are Shastras written by sages and rishis. And that can change from time to time. Shruti cannot be changed. It cannot be questioned because Shruti is coming directly from the Supreme Lord. Smriti is realized knowledge written by the rishis or passed down through the oral tradition by the rishis and sages. There is a very nice diagram of the Vedic scriptures, how they are divided. I'll see if I can find it and show it to you probably tomorrow in class. So how do you know who your father is? Simply ask your mother. You don't need to guess. You don't need to experiment. In our Shastras, it is said that the Vedic scriptures is our mother and the Supreme Lord is our father. So the scriptures are considered as our mother. And therefore, since a child learns maximum from the mother, the Vedic scriptures is the best way for us to learn about our Father, who is the Supreme Lord. So one has to study the scriptures to know who is Krishna. But we need Krishna's servants to tell us who Krishna is. And therefore the Lord will regularly send his pure devotees into this planet to help us in this process. So that's how acharyas come. That is the importance of the parampara system. So we've read some examples of how the Lord is everywhere and in everything. Prakriti is part of him, Jivatma is part of him. And he is the Supreme Lord because he is the source of both matter and spirit. So in just a few shlokas, Krishna has told Arjuna, I'm everywhere, I'm in everything. All the taste in the fruits and vegetables is coming from me. So we've already discussed this in the Secrets of Gita Revealed, so I'll not go over it. Two principles, Shakti and Shaktiman. Shaktiman is Lord Krishna and Shakti is Srimati Radharani. So in that sense, they are inseparable. They are one and the same. The minute you say Shaktiman, Shaktiman doesn't exist without Shaktis. So all of these are the Lord Shakti. Prakriti is a Shakti. Yogamaya is a Shakti. The Jivatmas are his Shakti. So in that sense, we all belong to the Lord. Shaktiman. So in that sense, the Lord is the only Purusha. Everything else is Prakriti. Prakriti, the energy is always serving the energetic. Therefore, The Jivatma should always be serving the Supreme Lord. That's our eternal position, and we need to understand that. Even though we are separated from the Lord, even in separation, we can serve the Lord. So then, the Jivatma. The Jivatma is exploiting Mother Nature to lead a comfortable life. Krishna is the essence of everything. He is the light of the sun, the taste of water, the sound of ether, the ability in man, the intelligence in the intelligent. The unseen is proven by the seen. Where Krishna says, I am the thread, and all of my creation is hanging on this thread. You cannot see the thread, you can see the creation. So by seeing the creation, we should automatically understand there is a creator behind it. It didn't come with a big bang. Our modern day science is teaching that everything came and began with a big bang. Nothing began with a big bang. Who's the source of that big bang? If there is a big bang, somebody made that big bang happen. That's the Supreme Lord. So Krishna is saying, everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. The thread is not visible, only the pearls are visible. Creation is visible, but Creator is not visible to you and me. So you have to develop the eyes to see the Creator. And now we come to the section of the Gita where the Lord is going to talk about 4 kinds of people who never surrender to Him and 4 kinds of personalities who surrender to Him. And then within those who surrender to Him, Krishna will tell you that the Jnani is better, but the devotee is very rare. So those who become devotees of Lord Krishna, Krishna himself is saying they are very rare. Because not everybody wants Krishna. So for the 33 of us here, if we have truly accepted Krishna as the Supreme Lord, and if we have begun the process of surrender, please note Krishna already is saying, you are a rare commodity. Not everybody worships Krishna. So let's see. Krishna says surrender is the best. Daivi hyesha gunamai mama maya duratyaya mam eva ye prabhadyante mayam etam tarantite. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the 3 modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But how can it be overcome? But those who have surrendered unto me can easily, Krishna is saying, easily cross beyond it. Krishna uses his words very carefully. So if Krishna is saying it is easy for you to go back to him, but the precondition is surrender, you have to accept it. Surrender begins by accepting him as a Supreme Lord. That's the first stage of surrender. So, who are the 4 kinds of people who don't surrender? Krishna uses very harsh words. He says, Moodha. Moodha are the grossly foolish, hardworking people. All they know is to spend long hours working and enjoying themselves. They don't know anything better to do. They are happy to be working like asses. Krishna is saying, I am not saying. Naradhama, uncivilized people, considered the lowest of mankind. Mayaya pahrita jnana, misled intellectuals of society. Oh, they think they are very intelligent. They actually don't realize how ignorant they are. But because they have considered themselves so intelligent, foolishly, all the other people who are equally ignorant are being misled by such so-called intellectuals. So Krishna is warning you, be careful who you want to follow. You have to use some intelligent criteria to figure out who's the genuine and who's a fake. Ashuram bhavamashritaha. Then there are the demoniac, Krishna says. And the actual shloka translation is those miscreants. Krishna is using the word miscreants, saying they are disobedient. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. So Krishna says those who have all these material desires, they are chasing. They are so busy in the chase. They don't even recognize the Paramatma within them. Then Krishna talks about the 4 kinds of men who surrender to him. So who are the people who approach Krishna? One is those who are in distress. If I'm experiencing difficulty, I will go and pray to Krishna. My dear Krishna, please remove this distress. So such a kind of person is called the Artaha. Then Artha Arti. Those who want wealth. They know, they have figured out Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He's the one who is ultimately sanctioning everything. So chalo, why should I worship any other demigod? I'll go straight to the Supreme Boss and ask him for whatever I want. Krishna says, yeah, that's okay. Such kind of people also, I consider that they have surrendered to me. At least they're approaching me, they're not going elsewhere. So such a person is called Artha Arti. Then Jignasa. Krishna says some people are just curious to figure out who's the Supreme Lord. Chalo, let me find out a little bit more information about him. Let us see if he's impressive. As sages say, he's very impressive. So out of curiosity, they want to know more about the Supreme Lord. So many of you may have signed up for this class out of curiosity. You weren't thinking, oh, tomorrow I have to surrender to Krishna. None of you were thinking like that, I'm sure. Because when I signed up for my Bhagavad Gita class, I never thought, oh, let me surrender to Krishna. I just thought, oh, let me figure out what is this Bhagavad Gita? I've heard about it throughout my life, but I don't know much about it. So out of curiosity, I signed up for Bhagavad Gita. And in the process, I am now become trying to be a devotee. So Krishna says, even those who are curious and who want to learn about me, they approach me and they, in Krishna's mind, you have surrendered. But true surrender will be defined a little bit later. Nevertheless, you have started down this path of surrender when you've accepted Krishna into your life. And then the Jnani, the one who's searching, who's the Supreme Lord? Where does he live? What is his address? Who are his relatives? What does he do? What clothes does he wear? The Jnani is genuinely seeking to know who is the Supreme Lord. They know the Supreme Lord exists, but they want to find out more and more about him. Such a person is a Jnani. Of these 4, please keep in mind, Krishna considers all 4 of these people to be pious. Krishna is saying these 4 kinds of people, in his mind, he considers you to be pious. And because you're pious, you're rendering some devotional service to him. But of these 4, Krishna says the Jnani of these 4 are the best. Because they actually want to know me. They don't have ulterior motive. Like, I want to please remove the troubles from my life. Please give me this, please give me that. Oh, I just want to know who you are. So of these four categories, Krishna says the Jnani is the best. Because their only focus is, I want to know who Krishna is. And right after that, Krishna says, oh, but better than the Jnanis are my devotees. They are completely surrendered to me. My pure devotees, Krishna says, Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prabhadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. So Krishna is saying, after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Great souls like Srila Prabhupada, who are so surrendered to the Lord. The Lord has sent them on a mission, and until their dying breath, they are focused on that mission. At the age of 70, Srila Prabhupada went to the West to start this movement. Generally considered the retirement age. So imagine how much difficulties an elderly man went through for you and me. All of you are here today in this class because of Srila Prabhupada. Because of the difficulties and challenges that he went through at the age, from the age of 70 to 82, 81. Srila Prabhupada worked tirelessly to set up this institution, to set up the temples, to set up the Gurukul, to try to institute Varnashram, Daivi Varnashram. The difference between Varnashram and Daivi Varnashram is the four Varnas and the four Ashramas. Daivi Varnashram, that our Acharyas wanted to be instituted in Kali Yuga, is the four Varnas and the four Ashramas working in cooperation, keeping God, the Supreme Lord, in the center. That is called Daivi Varnashram. So this pure devotee, Krishna says, is very rare. But they are the topmost. Because, you know, if you look at the corporate world, your boss has a tendency to gravitate towards those people who work hardest, who don't complain, who will not say no to the toughest of jobs. Similarly, the Lord will send acharyas our way because he knows the acharyas will do anything and everything to please him and satisfy. They are ready to undergo the greatest of difficulties for the purposes of satisfying and pleasing the Lord. That is the position of the acharyas. So even in the corporate world, you will not come across too many employees who are willing to do anything and everything for you. Of course, that is a little bit deviant because that is done for material purposes. But still, from a quality standpoint, I'm saying, in any organization, probably 1 to 2% of the employees will be like this. They are ready to do anything and everything for the organization, for the boss. You know, they are the A-graders. So we will conclude today's session with Krishna explaining why demigod worship is foolish. Now you may say, that's not very fair. The Devatas are also servants of the Lord. They are also devotees of the Lord. So why is the Lord criticizing if you and I worship the Devatas? Why is he saying you're not very intelligent if you're worshipping the Devatas? Why is the Lord being so harsh about demigod worship? Well, the Lord is going to explain. Kamaistaistai hritagnyanaha prapadyante devata tam tam niyamam asthaya prakritya niyata swaya. Krishna has already explained in chapters 3 and chapters 4 why some people don't surrender to him. Because they want quick results. So Krishna says here, those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires, what do? They surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own nature. So for one who has a lot of desires and is trying to satisfy those desires, Krishna is saying they approach the demigods because the demigods will give you quick results. But in Krishna's mind, such a person is not very intelligent. Their intelligence has been consumed by the fire of desires. What is the result for those who are worshipping the demigods? They will get whatever material desires they are seeking. They will do a lot of pious deeds. But what is their destination? They will go reside with the demigods. Once they exhaust their credits, they'll come back again to the material planet. So the cycle will go on endlessly. You'll enjoy yourself, you'll come back. You'll enjoy yourself, you'll come back. Snake and ladder game. 1 minute you're up, next minute you're sliding down the snake's mouth. Come back to zero. Start all over again. Hence Krishna is saying, not very intelligent, no? If I've given you intelligence, shouldn't you use that intelligence to break free of the cycle of birth and death? Why would you constantly repeat the same thing again and again and again and think the results are going to be different the next time? So in Krishna's mind, this is foolishness. And then Krishna will conclude by saying, who can actually become a devotee? Yesham tvanta gatam papam jnananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridhavrataha. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are free from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. So Krishna is concluding by saying his devotees are very, very determined. They don't give up. They are steadfast. Once they have realized that this is the goal, they are very goal-oriented. The goal is to achieve Krishna Prema. The goal is to become completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord. So devotees do not worry about moksha. Devotees do not care for liberation. I think I mentioned that once before. Why is it that devotees don't care for liberation? Because they are too much in love with Krishna. Their focus, their consciousness is, I want to serve the Lord. And when you love Krishna, moksha is automatically given to you. So it's that buy one, get one free. You know, yesterday Amog Leela Prabhu, His Grace Amog Leela Prabhu was in our temple. I'm sure a lot of you may know who he is. He's a wonderful, exuberant, lively, inspirational preacher in ISKCON. His videos are all on YouTube. He has his own YouTube channel. So he had come to the temple yesterday to specifically talk to the IT crowd. So he was using this example. So he was saying, let us say you go to a shop and there is a sale advertised to buy a large plasma screen TV. And in that advertisement, it says DVD comes, free DVD if you make this purchase, or whatever, free DVD player or whatever it is. So that's a devotee. A devotee is focused on purchasing the plasma TV, and this moksha, this DVD, is just thrown in for free by the Lord. You don't have to worry about it. So love for the Lord trumps everything else. So if you love the Lord, you're already liberated. So it comes with love for the Lord. So you don't have to aspire for moksha separately. You don't have to go and purchase the DVD player separately. Your focus is that you want to purchase the plasma TV. When you purchase the plasma TV, you get the DVD player along with it for free. So therefore, in Vaishnava Sampradaya, especially in the ISKCON movement, the Gaudiya Madhva Sampradaya, our focus is not on moksha. Our focus is on love for the Supreme Lord. And that love has to be expressed. It has to be expressed to the Lord, and it has to be expressed to the Lord's devotees. And therefore, sadhu sangha becomes an important part of our practice. Coming to the temple becomes an important part of our practice because we get an opportunity to serve the deities and to serve the devotees of the Lord. Right. So we simply follow this ABCD formula, and through following this ABCD formula, we achieve love for the Lord. Eventually, pure love for the Lord. So we'll stop here for the day. So today's section was Jnana Vijnana Yoga. What is Jnana and what is Vijnana? Vijnana is realized knowledge. Hence, Krishna is using various analogies. I am the taste of the water. I am the light of the sun and the moon. I am this, I am that. So you have to realize that the Lord pervades everything. The Lord's energy pervades every atom in this universe. And yet he's not visible to us because we lack the purity to see him. Vancha kalpadarupyascha kripasindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha anantakoti vaishnava vrindi ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.